I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I'm going to do an update now on the current status of the rental market in Vancouver. Let's talk Vancouver, downtown, east side, west side, but I'll also brush a little bit on areas like Surrey here, Richmond, North Van, West Van as well. So I want to put a little plug out to a website that I've been using for a while now called live.rent. Live spelled L-I-V.rent. Now, my wife, who's also a realtor on my team, my wife is the brains of the operation when it comes to managing a lot of my rental properties. She's the one that will follow up on what we should be renting it when I do need a new tenant, where the market rates are going. She's also the one that will step in when I sell a condo to an investor, and that investor wants to hopefully run the property himself as opposed to using a property manager, which on that note, I always recommend, if you can, to do it yourself. Even though I have property managers I can refer you to, and some good ones, and give you a special rate, in my opinion, it's always best to manage it yourself. It will save you a lot of money. You don't have to pay the management cost to have someone run it for you. And it's not as difficult as people think. In March, I had two brand new investor clients, first-time investors, that both took it on themselves. Both were able to get tenants moving in April 1st, even with this COVID-19 lockdown. So people are still renting units, as I'm going to get to in a minute here. And prices are still staying resilient here as well. But lately, my wife, when we do sell to an investor client, we will give you all the documents you're going to need, the tenancy application, how to run tenancy, a credit check, how to file the Form K, and we will also give you a recommendation on where the rent should be in that particular building, what you should charge. But this live.rent, when I need a new tenant, I've always used Craigslist, but for the last year now, we've been also using this live.rent. And it is a fantastic site. A number of things that it does different than Craigslist. It's a lot more robust, first off. The potential tenants have to actually fill out an application, so to speak, so that when they apply to rent one of your units, you actually know a little bit about them, who they are, age, what their occupation is, etc. It also breaks down, it's pretty robust in the way the stats are. What the average rent for is in every neighborhood in Vancouver. Also, where the rents have been going up or down month over month. It breaks down rental rates to proximity to SkyTrain and transit. It's really a fantastic site. So I use it as a resource site, or my wife does, to come up with where the rents are at. But we also use it to get tenants. We run ads on Craigslist, but we've also been running ads on live.rent. And actually, the last unit I just had to rent last month, we got off live.rent. So a couple of things here I want to point out. They just released their April or month-over-month stats from April to May. And some interesting stats here. This is for a one-bedroom unfurnished. One-bedroom unfurnished in Vancouver. The rental rate went down 0.5%. It's still right now, the average rent in Vancouver is just under $1,700 for a one-bed. But if you broke that down to downtown Vancouver, you're probably looking at just over $2,200 a month. But I won't get into all the breakdowns and the details and the neighborhoods here. But let's just look at unfurnished one bed. So month over month here, again, rates went down about 0.5% for unfurnished downtown. That's a change here. Normally, these have been going up pretty steadily over the last year and a half. But of course, with the lockdown here and everything else, you're starting to see that starting to turn a little bit. If you go to places like South Vancouver, the rates have gone up about 4%. Burnaby has dropped about 5%. This is unfurnished. Surrey has dropped about 3%. Richmond is actually up 1%. Now, here's the interesting one. They also break it down by furnished rentals. And furnished rentals, one bedroom, have been hit hard here. In downtown Vancouver, furnished rentals are down almost 10%. Average rent down 10%. In South Vancouver, they're up again, 6%. In Burnaby, which is the hardest hit, furnished one-bedroom rentals down 16% for monthly rent, average monthly rent. In Richmond, the furnished rental price has gone up 4%. So that's an interesting stat. I've never been really big. I've never rented my apartments furnished. The vast majority of my investor clients also do not rent furnished. You do get some extra money renting furnished, and from time to time, I will represent a buyer where we're buying a unit. It was a furnished rental, and in part of the price, if the furniture is decent, they've thrown in the furniture. In some cases, it's garbage, it's IKEA stuff. We don't bother. We want vacant possession, empty. But I have had a few clients over the years that the furniture was nice. They were willing to throw it in. We could negotiate it. And we've gotten a pretty good deal on a furnished unit. I've had some clients that have decided, hey, it's furnished, I'll rent it furnished, and they've done pretty well on it. But it is a little bit more work. I've often found that with furnished rentals, you've got a little bit more of a transient tenant there. Sometimes they don't stay as long. They're a little more in and out. And this stat I'm just reading between the lines here, down 10% on furnished rentals. Hey, some of these might have been Airbnbs. Some of these might have been corporate rentals from companies like Home and Away, where they rent it by the month or by 3-month periods. That market, of course, has been completely wiped out, decimated. So in some cases here, probably what's happened is they can't get short-term rental, so they put it on the market for a 1-year fixed-term lease. And there's probably a glut in it. I've also seen in some other stats on Live that the 2-bedroom market has taken a bit more of a beating as well. And again, I've often said to people, I like 1 bedroom, 1 bath. That is the sweet spot for renting apartments. Look no further than if you go on Craigslist at the beginning of the month, have a look at what comes out. The good 1 bedrooms are the first ones to get picked off. It's the 2 and 3 bedrooms. They can still be good rentals. Don't get me wrong, but they just are a little more difficult to rent for the simple fact that you're charging $3,000, $4,000 a month for these. A lot of people in that price range are buyers. The 1 bedrooms at $2,000, $2,100, $2,200, they're suitable for a single female or male or a couple. More in the sweet spot with the 1 bedrooms. But that gives you a snapshot of where it's at right now. So far, unfurnished 1 bedrooms have not really been scathed yet. We'll see where it moves forward. I will give you guys another update. Now, as an investor, am I worried about the current lockdown and the situation and renting my units? None. Not at all. Either or any of my other clients. So, give you another anecdotal here from the front lines. I have a tenant in one of my Mount Pleasant units. She is giving me notice to move out June 1st. This has nothing to do with the COVID thing. She actually told me about this 3 months ago, that she would be moving out June 1st. She's moving back to Ontario to go back to school. She's been in the unit about 14 months. We put it on live.rent and we also put it on Craigslist. I was renting it for $19.75 per month, no parking. She'd been in there for 14 months. My wife and I decided to put it out at the same rent. Let's not raise it up. Let's keep it under $2,000. And these units, it's only a 3.5-year-old building, 515 square feet with a balcony, nice finishings, no parking, right in Olympic Village. Normally, when I last rented this 14 months ago, I had probably 20 inquiries in the first day or two. This go around, I had 3 in the first couple of days. I ended up showing it to a couple of parties first. Neither one of them gave me an application. Later in the week, I ended up with a couple more showings on it for a total of 5. And one of the parties gave me an application and it's now rented. So we rented it. Took me 6 days, not that long, but traffic numbers and interest in this unit was probably about a third of what it was last time I rented this 14 months ago. And I did keep the rent the same, $19.50 per month, to a well-qualified tenant, I might add. So that kind of gives you an idea for sure. The market is softening a little bit here. Rental rates are kind of holding firm for now, might change. Furnished rentals have taken a little bit more of a hit, definitely. But we'll see where it's going. All my tenants have made rent the last couple of months. I'm not expecting any issues with any of my tenants, touch wood. I'm in pretty close contact with all my investor clients. All but one of them have told me that, everything's good, smooth sailing so far. I had one who was in retail, good tenant. She'd been in there for about 3 years, that he's giving a discount right now on rent, about $300 a month. and in hopes that once this retail store opens up, which it should be later this month, hoping to make up that rent. But she's a good tenant, and I instructed him, just leave it, work with your tenant, which is what I would suggest. But so far so good on the rental front. Again, could change. Some of these suburbs might be a little more hard hit. I've said before that, the downtown tenant pool is not quite as much in that blast zone. Most of the tenants downtown that are renting $2,100, $2,200, $2,300 one bedrooms are earning six figures a year. They're tech workers, professionals. They're not, service industry workers making $12 an hour. So they're a little more insulated. That might not be the case, though, as much in the suburbs. We'll have to see. We're only 2 months in. Let's see what May or June's check, June 1st does and July 1st. I'll keep you guys posted with some more updates down the road. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.